The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max WWE 205 Live review for February 21st, 2017. And as always, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
And also joining us this week, Mr. Gary Vaughn.
Hello.
Hello. And we are all here to discuss, of course, this week's 205 Live, which was actually a pretty entertaining show, top to bottom. Even an entertaining vignette by someone that we see all the time, but still a great moment in time that we'll always remember. At least that's the way he would like you to think of it anyway. So we start things by a feud that's kind of been going between this and Raw for 205 Live, and Akira Tozawa and Brian Kendrick. Of course, Brian Kendrick is still upset that Akira Tozawa, last week told him, I don't like you, and I don't want to be your protege, even though he just said no. And so, this match that happens here to kind of kick off the show, Akira Tozawa kind of owns Kendrick for a while, and then Kendrick just comes back, and he winds up getting the win off a mistake by Tozawa. So, the old man outsmarting the newcomer.
You know what I like most about this is, it is just that, the old wily veteran able to overcome, a young athletic guy who really honestly, probably should have owned him. And so, it just takes those smarts, that you have to get. It's almost like street smarts in a way. It's something that Kendrick knows
he
very
pulled
well.
A Finley, instead of using an apron, he just tied him to the...
Exactly, and that's he pulled an old trick and got him tied up underneath the apron and got the count out for the victory. Cheap victory, but he got it, and that's all he cares about. So I kind of like it. I think it's kind of fun, and it adds to what Kendrick is, right?
Yes, and I think it plays so very well into the feud that they're trying to build here, and that Kendrick is trying to show Tozawa what he knows. And you don't see this kind of finish all the time, and it feels fresh, and I like that about this. So I think this was good work here.
Yeah, so the feud continues with these guys. Tozawa doesn't need a pin, so that's good too. And, we'll see if they do anything on Raw with them or not. And after this, we get Noam Dar being interviewed by Dasha Fuentes as, she asked Noam, hey, after Rich Swann kind of got everybody hot and bothered, including Alicia Fox, it seemed like, telling her that he wanted to dedicate his match last week to Alicia Fox and telling her that, she couldn't handle this. And so Noam Dar says, no, nothing's gone wrong. They're all good. Nobody was bothered by this at all. And, Dasha wonders why Alicia's not here. She's apparently not feeling well. But, he's going to dedicate his win to Alicia Fox. And that's pretty much his deal now. It's just Alicia Fox is getting more play from Noam Dar saying her name in a funny way than I think ever.
I love that Rich did it last week too. It's almost its own little inside joke on 205 Live, which is just great. Yeah, I love it.
And I think that inside joke started even backstage. And from what I'm hearing, it's about Vince McMahon just likes the way he says it because it sounds like a dirty word.
Well, yeah, he makes it sound like she's, it's great. I like it.
I do too. And honestly, I mean, I know Dar's kind of growing on me. I mean, yeah, he's got a pretty thick Scottish accent. I mean, even thicker than Drew Galloway. So, I still appreciate him though. He's kind of fun.
Yeah, and then he has a match with Mustafa Ali, which, again, Mustafa Ali looks good. And it kind of sucks because he was starting to get onto this like winning track where he was going somewhere, and then all of a sudden, somebody decided, no, let's kind of cool him back down, which is weird. But Noam Dar gets a win, which is rare.
I think this is another indicate if you're gonna have a feud with Rich Swann, who's a former champion. I think old Mr. Dar here needs some victories, and it's not like Mustafa got like squashed or anything. He got to look very strong in this too, and the match is good. So I mean, good victory here for Noam Dar to keep on moving up the ranks here.
Yeah, and Mustafa Ali also, like Paul just pointed out, he got to look good. But not only that, I mean, you had this spot where he hit his head on the top part of the ring post, right? So it makes you feel like, if it wasn't for that, he definitely could have had a shot to win this. And, it kind of protects him away from just saying, oh, hey, clean victory for Noam Dar, Mustafa Ali's not on his level. No, it's nothing about that. It was just a mishap that, Noam Dar took advantage of. And, we talked about Brian Kendrick in the same way. These kind of guys, they're both kind of similar in that heel fashion. Different guys, different heels, but they play that same game of, we're going to take advantage of whatever we can, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I'm completely happy the way that they're doing this, and I'm glad that Mustafa Ali doesn't walk away from this match looking bad. I'm glad that he had that opportunity to prove that, hey, I'm just as viable as any of these other guys. It's just, mistakes happen,
I'm just glad that he's not doing some kind of stereotypical gimmick like they have with Daivari. So
they already got one on there. Quota's filled.
Yeah.
I mean, they could decide to have him be in a tag team or something, but thankfully that's not happening either. So
you just mentioned it, so it's going to happen now.
Oh God, please!
Way to go, Sean.
Oh. Don't put that on me. I don't want that terrible pressure of somebody having to tweet at me or Facebook me later and go, God, why'd you say that?
Yeah.
But still, I really hate that Mustafa kind of didn't get to the main event level pretty quickly there. But I mean, there's time. They got to build up all these guys, and there's going to be times where you're hot and there's times where you're not. So at least you don't. As long as you don't get back to TJP levels where nobody cares about you, I think you're all right.
Yeah. And that's the thing here. 205 Live is fairly young. I mean, we sometimes get ahead of ourselves, I think. We kind of think, oh, man, this guy's not getting over. It's kind of... But 205 Live only has an hour. And some of these guys are not going to be the guys getting over into that main event right away. It's going to take some time. This is going to be a rotation. It's just not his time yet. But I fully expect Mustafa Ali to eventually be a main player in 205 Live. It's just, not now.
But yeah, I mean, that and you look at the insane amount of talent they have in this division, and I mean, everybody feels a little wasted at times.
Yeah, it really reminds you of like the early days of Full Sail NXT after they'd already, crowned the champion and all that. Of, okay, we know we're going to get guys having good matches. It's not going to just be like Squash City or whatever like NXT has turned into now, where you'll have the occasional good match on there here and there. Here it's like everybody's trying to impress, and you've got a bunch of guys sort of being equals, and one guy's going to get wins depending on the story or not, and they're going to pick their times of when this guy's going somewhere and when there's not, because number one, you only have so much talent on there available to you, and you only got an hour.
Right.
So... and then we get into, speaking of talent, another person coming in to 205 Live, And well, he got to announce himself. Austin Aries cuts to his own video package of him coming to 205 Live. It was just great.
Truly, only an intro the greatest man that ever lived could ever have done for this kind of video package. It was great. The whole segment's awesome. And not to mention Corey Graves' reactions to Austin are just, they're perfect every time.
There's not many guys out there that can pull this type of thing off, and Austin Aries is definitely one of them, and that's why I love this guy. The personality, it's in your face, but it's somehow, some way you just love the guy, even though you want to hate him. And I think that this is just another proof of that. So, I'm glad that he was able to pull that off, and it was kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
So, I mean, do you think that they could have just done it to where it was a little bit more subtle, kind of just have him attack somebody or whatever, instead of just, okay, we're gonna make it obvious that he's coming? No, because some people may not think of it as, okay, we know he can still wrestle or whatever. What's he doing? Why is he on commentary? Some people might really think that he's just gonna be on commentary for 205 Live or whatever, and not really say, okay, he's gonna run. I mean, obviously, we all know why he's there, because he's eventually gonna be in the 205 Live show in the division or whatever. But I think the casual fan may not see it the same way, and you could have had him be more of the, maybe he's not gonna be a heel on this for a while on 205, or they're gonna test the waters, because I guess going back to the thought is apparently Aries and Neville for the Cruiserweight title at WrestleMania. So my only problem with it is Aries is such a great heel. It kind of sucks when they once again decide to go the other way to start him off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're right. He is a great heel, and it is kind of a weird kind of thought process of him going for that Cruiserweight title and being the babyface, but it's something that's not out of his realm, and I think he'll do fine doing, because he's great on the mic, and he can present himself very well. So if there's anybody that can do it, I think it's definitely him. Though once again, I still kind of feel it's weird, because being a heel is a strong point. And I don't know if I really need to have him sneak up and attack somebody, or just find a way to get back in the ring. It's very indicative of what they do on 205 Live, and that is show these big video packages, get you hyped up from that next guy, coming into 205 Live. So I think that's probably what the formula may be here on 205 Live. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of these, oh man, I had no idea that guy was going to wrestle. I think they're going to try to pump up everybody.
I think it's also important to remember, too, that we're not dealing with an audience that is completely familiar with Austin outside of him just being a commentator right now. There might be some, that TNA crossover here, and there might be a lot of NXT fans out there, and obviously a lot of independent wrestling fans out there who know who this guy is. But now it's a much larger stage. It's a much larger and wider and more varied audience. So I think this was a little bit of a smarter idea to do this. I think a surprise attack would have worked just as well, but I think this was the right way to go. And I honestly don't have a problem with him working Neville at 205 as for the title at Mania, because one, it is two larger stars, and I think Aries works up to whoever he's feuding with. So Neville has such a great character right now. I think Aries, he'll look a lot hotter as a babyface coming in, trying to just prove, or even if he's an anti-hero who's still working the same gimmick, just in, hey, I'm better than you, and you're sitting here saying you're better than me, and that's just not true.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You have a point. It could work this time. We'll have to see. And of course, to finish things off, they'd already sort of announced it at the beginning, but Jack Gallagher, so he can look strong going into that final week before you're getting into the Fastlane pay-per-view where he faces Neville, going against Tony Nese here. And this match was really good. You had Gallagher just going at it, and Nese doing everything he could to look good here. That cartwheel to the floor with the super kick was nasty. The headbutt that Gallagher hits, the first one on Nice, my God, the crowd oohed because you could hear it. The thud from his head to Nice's head. I hope that doesn't affect Gallagher not being able to use it in the future, but good lord. Then he hits another one when he's over there by the turnbuckle. Just some really good stuff here, and Gallagher obviously wins. But again, I kind of agree with Gary. Like, he's doing that Daniel Bryan dropkick in the corner thing, and it's just, man, that's not a finisher to me. It works for his like gimmick, I guess, but just it kind of does bug me. Like, somebody's gonna go down to a dropkick.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Del Rio Trio of Woe thing that he was doing. I don't know what you call that, but I always hated
nothing
that
will be as stupid as that thing. My God,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have to see that ever again.
Oh God, I know, me too. Ugh. But you know, I
Let me
get
hold
that
myself while you hit me.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than that. But, you know, this was a fine match. I really enjoyed myself. I thought it was, you know, really good. You know, Nice is amazing. I really like his work. I love his aggression. He just impresses me. And Jack Gallagher is fun. He's a lot of fun to watch. But, you know, besides, you know, the way it finishes, I think it's needed to get, you know, Gallagher to come on and move on and to show that, you know, he's going to win these big matches because he's at Neville's level, right? I mean, we wanted to see him in a good match to prove that he is worthy of going for the Cruiserweight title. And I think he kind of does that here.
I'll say this about the headbutt. There's a lot of leg slap involved in that thud. And don't get me wrong, it looks brutal as all get out. But we've seen the most brutal headbutt ever from Shibata. I don't know if this comes close. Cause, I mean, you still hear leg slap in this, where that is all thud in the one I'm talking about. So, not to take away from it at all, because it is still a great spot. And that the cartwheel thing, if we hadn't just seen Ospreay freaking bouncing around on an apron for about 4 minutes against Shibata in the last New Japan show, this would have felt a lot more innovative. It's still cool. These guys worked really well together, and I'm not trying to like backhand it by saying New Japan's better. It's just we watch a lot of wrestling. We see so much of this often enough to where it's hard for it to stand out sometimes. Is what I'm trying to put across here. But this is great. I really don't think Gallagher is going to win the title, but I'm much more interested in that match. I think him and Neville have done a great job of building up the Fastlane, and hopefully we'll see some more Neville action next week. Because I mean, the guy's great. I love watching him every week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be fair, I think you will probably run into more people that are watching 205 Live, I think. Or, well, you never know, because 205 Live is not the most popular thing on the network. It's not like NXT, where NXT's now become appointment viewing on the network every week.
Right.
But I think while you do have your hardcore fans, the people in the arena, and then I'm sure you have plenty of people at home that are like Gary that maybe watch your occasional show outside of WWE or whatever. You know, Gary watches a lot more ROH than he does in Japan, but like not seeing that all the time, I think it's for that fan that they're aiming to, I think it's still my problem is they don't highlight that kind of stuff enough. Like, it's still your like ground grappling and the stuff you see on Raw and SmackDown all the time. Like 205 Live really I'm not saying they need to be doing flippy doos all the time, but you really do need to highlight that stuff to make it different instead of, okay, well, this is just smaller guys, even smaller than you already see on Raw in different capacities, doing moves that you see all the time. Like, they need to be made to be different, I feel.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I look at that, too, as, you know, for the fact that, you know, you want 205 Live to have a special feel, which it has its own special feel, but you want it to have a special feel to when people come and watch it, they feel like they're watching an indie promotion, or they're watching something that's not the cookie cutter, that's something that's different than Raw and SmackDown, where they feel like, man, I just sat through, SmackDown, but man, I really would watch this other one because it's different. It's not like I'm just adding another hour to SmackDown. It's all I'm doing when I'm watching 205 Live. Just lighter guys, and you don't want that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is something we talk about often on this show is there are times when 205 Live doesn't feel like a cruiserweight show. It just feels like lighter guys working a WWE style. And there are times when it does feel different. And like Mustafa Ali, when he first broke out after his debut, really felt different because they let him go out there and really showcase that he can do flippy doos really well. And I feel like they don't do that enough with the guys who are there because they do flippy doos so well. Let them do that enough. Whereas in this match with Gallagher and Tony Nese, I feel like you really get a lot of the good stuff from both guys. Gallagher is what he is, right? He's a technician. He also can hit you really hard, and he can high fly a little, but that's not his thing. Whereas Nese he can do a sort of little bit of everything, which is why I think he fits what WWE wanted for this so well. Is not only does he have that look, but he has that same style. And when you look at everybody else who is sort of either still trying to find their way or whatever else, I don't know if they're exactly letting them work to their strongest points 100% of the time. Maybe 20% of the time. Every once in a blue moon, you'll get to see a guy do what really brought him to the table, but other times it's them trying to find a way to fit what they've already done to WWE, and I feel like that's not what they should really try to do with 205.
I feel like some guy, like Rich Swann is a guy that they let kind of, he's himself. I mean, him randomly just ending the match with a Phoenix Splash last week, and that really got the crowd to pay attention. And he's done that several times where it's like, oh my god, okay, I want to pay attention to him. And plus, he's got the dancing and all that stuff, which Vince loves all that. But I think Cedric's been able to really showcase what he brings with that hybrid there, and some other guys you see it, but they're not. You don't get a whole you always talk about how oh god, now I can't think of Lince Dorado could be something, but he's just a dude that comes out there and does stuff, and it's like, well, you gotta give us a reason to really care about why he's out there and not just, oh, here's a dude. So
and now you have to go further now that you have somebody who can really, I think, do everything that he does even better, and Grand Metalik. You got to make him stand out even further. Botching. Well, I mean, it happens. The rope rolling underneath him wasn't entirely his fault last week.
Right. Just I feel bad for him. Yeah. Like, your re-debut, and
especially with Morrow on commentary saying how he's such a master of all these rope springboard moves.
Yeah, he's like, oh, really, it's the master of the ropes. Whoops.
Oof. Yep. Well, I look
there
silly.
You go. I like that. Mamma mia. So we now somebody's gonna whack me because I said that, but so he is so weird on Twitter. Like, he'll retweet all the compliments, and then if you bash him, he'll block you. Oh, so funny. Anyway, and he gets really touchy about the whole, if you call him out for doing the Mamma Mia thing, he does not like that. So that being said, this is our 205 Live review for the week. So, and next week again we'll be doing the go home for the cruiserweights heading in the fast lane. And we'll see if Neville gets. I'm sure Neville will be on the show, so you can kind of have something with him and Gallagher and whatever else they're going to be doing. So until next week, we'll see you later, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.